The following episode of Shower for the Soul contains language or subject matter that may not be suitable for children. Listener discretion is advised. I saw it this way. I was running myself over with the car instead of waiting in traffic for a car to hit me. Welcome to Shower for the Soul. I'm your host, Shane Fame Alexander. This is where we swap stories on life struggles, triumphs, and victories. Grab a drink, find a cozy spot in the studio, and let's start sharing. Hello, and welcome back to Shower for the Soul. I'm your host, Shane Fame Alexander. Today, we're talking about self-doubt, self-awareness, and knowing your worth. I'll chat about how I went through a long period of time doubting myself, which just caused unnecessary pain. I'll also talk about how I overcame the doubt that gave me enough confidence to create this very podcast. But first, a huge high five and hug to those that downloaded the trailer episode of Shower for the Soul. It was very stressful for me to actually put out that episode, but I did, and I've gotten great feedback from it. It's actually a great example of what I want this podcast to stand for. I mean, there's a few things I picked up on while listening to the episode that I didn't hear before, and I wasn't really truly happy with. So I changed it, and now I know not to do those mistakes again. It's all about seeing where we went wrong and changing course accordingly. Growing from your experience and trying not to repeat them. So thanks again for being nice and giving me compliments. I truly do appreciate them. Knowing your worth is much easier than it sounds. Should be easy. You should be your biggest fan. You should be the one that always believes in yourself, right? Thinking you're great is easy. Knowing and believing you're great is hard. I was watching Hot Ones last night with the singer Tinashe, and she was talking about the yes men that tend to surround artists in the music industry. It's when we have yes men or women in your life, and they just tell you what you want to hear or need to hear. It's that fake confidence that's gained when you're being told something that you, yourself, truly don't believe. The last call center job I had was in 2017. We'd get reviewed once a month on different aspects of the job. One month would be quality, the next month would be upselling, the following month would be about customer service, and so on and so forth. Every meeting went very well for me. I thought I was the king of the castle, the number one. I thought I was the man, best on the floor. All of the supervisors would give me glowing reviews and recommend that I get more hours. Then I had this one review that totally burst my bubble. I was doing something all along that no one had ever pointed out to me. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something that I was saying that I wasn't supposed to be saying, and the supervisors that gave me those glowing reviews all heard me say it over and over and over again. I understand it wasn't their territory, but it would have been cool if they kept it real with me and said something like, "Hey Shane, you're doing great, but one thing you might want to stop is this." I was upset and my ego was deflated. Balloon struck, spat out bubblegum. The confidence I had for the job was no more. I felt very insecure and scared of taking calls. Even after leaving the call center job, I knew I wasn't really over it. I tried to make it a positive, by saying that it was just a sign that my decade-plus career on the phones is officially over, and to hell with that company. That's something to say, but to actually recover from such a bad blow was another thing. The call center situation is only one of the examples of how a job hurt me before I hurt it. For as long as I can remember, I seem to have been scared of my own success. At 17 years old, I was volunteering at a radio station in Toronto. I knew that I was going to be in radio. I spoke, joked, breathed, ate, pooped radio. After high school, I got into a broadcasting college in the States. 6 months in, I decided to come back. Yes, I was homesick, but I was starting to get afraid of what was happening. It was getting too real. Same thing happened when I was running my own concert promotion company. I saw relatively good successes throwing shows in the early 2000s, but again, I quit when the getting was good. Unlike my call center gig, I knew I was a natural broadcaster. I mean, just listen to me now. I did very well at throwing shows. I had a mind for it and got the culture that I was trying to throw to. I didn't run away from broadcasting or throwing shows because I was bad at them. Just the opposite. I ran away because I knew how good I was. My insecurities of being good in life made me run away from what I loved. And it wasn't just professions that I loved that I intentionally botched. There were relationships as well. This happened mostly in my teen years. I was scared of getting too close to people. Once I had someone that I started to feel for, I discarded them. I'd never return their calls. This would happen every few months until one specific night when something changed. I had a long talk with a close friend of mine over coffee at a regular country style hangout. Both being July babies, she kind of understood where I was coming from. She pointed out exactly how I must have felt, which I did feel that same way, and she told me how good I was. My friend, let's call her Lexi, Lexi wasn't a glad-handing yes gal like I mentioned earlier. She was, and most likely still is, the straightest shooter you'll ever meet. Of the 5 years I knew her, she only paid me 5 compliments. That's like one compliment a year. And that's why they meant so much to me when I heard them. Yeah. She did tell me how good I looked, or that I was being funny, or that I was wearing nice gear, but she only gave me 5 really deep, bottom of the heart, sincere compliments. So when she gave me a 15-minute lecture at an empty country style at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday, I paid attention. She hit all the points and reasons why I might be torturing myself. Lexi's lecture helped me remind myself how good I actually am. I saw it this way. I was running myself over with the car instead of waiting in traffic for a car to hit me. I'm not saying that Lexi's lecture fixed me. It just made me understand myself more. However, I did make a conscious effort of stop hijacking relationships. When I started to gain more value in myself because I saw how many people truly valued me. I'm still iffy with work, as I still have bundled up insecurities about getting a job. The good thing about this is, though, that ever since that call center gig, I now have so much overconfidence in what I am worth professionally that's really hard for anyone to make me think less of myself. Things will happen in life where you'll get hurt. It's part of the process. But now I'm not hurting myself before anything or anyone hurts me. And it's because of doing that I found myself mentally strong enough to start this podcast. We'll cover that in a second. Here's a fun fact. I listen to more podcasts than radio. Another fun fact is that I'm a segment producer for the Geeks and Beats podcast. Other than my podcast and Geeks and Beats, I have tons of podcasts that I listen to. This is why I really like Stitcher's easy-to-understand layout. They make it simple for you. Search for a podcast, add it as a favorite, and it'll be there waiting for you whenever you want to listen to a new episode. It's easy to find and easier to play. Stitcher and I have come together to give you a month of their premium plan for free. Get access to Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, comedy albums, and more. Sign up at Stitcher.com and use promo code SHOWER4SOUL, all one word. That's Stitcher.com and use promo code SHOWER4SOUL. So far this week, we went over how I never really saw my self-worth. I spoke about how I purposely botched jobs and relationships in the past because I didn't think I deserved them. I still have relationship and professional insecurities. Everyone does. But what's different from 2 years ago today? I understand my worth now. I'm confident with who I am. I don't wreck opportunities in fear of quote unquote getting too close. I actually did air quotes just now. My confidence built up a whole lot, but there's something I'd like to touch on also I haven't mentioned yet. As my confidence grew, I got self aware. I learned to accept my weaknesses. It feels like I'm living with authenticity. And this will come along the way, and it feels amazing when you see it in yourself because you feel like a super person. Your authenticity is your new superpower. And it's the superpower that got me to create this podcast. After leaving my previous job, I was in the dumps. I was clocking in and out of my day and I didn't really know where I was heading towards. I started to listen to old radio tapes of my radio heroes. I would pretend to play radio throughout the day, introducing songs in the shower. I was reliving my childhood. One evening, I took a deep dive into exactly why I was going back in time and revisiting my childhood passion crush. I realized I was still in love. I took it as a sign. I looked deeper and found what I was truly looking for. The passion I had when I was a young boy wanting to break into radio. How I would never listen to anyone telling me no. How I would not tell my parents and take the first bus from Richmond Hill downtown to visit my friends on the radio. I was looking to get that nothing's going to stop me attitude back. I knew this was the best time to start my podcast. It was the right time. I had a great vision of not only what the show would sound like, but what the Shower for the Soul brand would look like. It was like overnight I went from pity me and woke up with a DIY mindset. 2 years ago, this would only be a dream. I would have just wished I would have the guts to start a show, to spend the money on good equipment, marketing, and have faith that it'll be something. The re-emergence of my passionate soul was more prominent every day as I started to build this new brand. What I found was that I started to let myself face my fears. And that's the big thing. I started to ask myself, what was stopping me? What really are my goals? What would I do if I started a podcast? The one answer that kept being repeated, opportunities exist. I just needed to find them. In the case of Shower for the Soul, I allowed myself to create the opportunity instead of hunting the opportunity down. In no way I'm done finding out new things about myself. I now know that self-awareness isn't just a quick trip to the mall, bag it, get home, and shelf it. We're always needing more self-awareness because we're always growing. Self-awareness is lifelong learning. Just be able to be secure enough to learn from it, the good and the bad. We'll be back to wrap things up in a second. Almost done for another week. We'll let you know what's happening next week in just a second. Before I go, I just want to let you know how you can support this podcast. This is what I'm doing with Patreon. $3 of your monthly contributions will go towards a charity of your choosing. If you want to just support this show with a monthly contribution of $1, $2, or $3, you can do that also. All up to you. For every tier, we're giving something back to you. Always. Like ad-free episodes, a Skype chat with me, or other fun stuff. Learn more at patreon.com/showerforthesoul. What a great episode. When was the last time you dated yourself? Shoot me an email or a message on social media and let me know. Maybe I'll share your thoughts on next week's show. Speaking of next week, we're tatting it up, talking about tattoos. I have a couple, and they've worked wonders on helping me grow, but yet still remember what I went through. Have your tattoos helped you mentally grow? Do all tattoos really need to mean something? We'll chat about that next Wednesday. If you have any stories or thoughts on tattoos and mental growth, shoot me a message or email. I'll share my contact information with you in just 1 second. Thanks to Stitcher. Don't forget to sign up today for your first month free. Use promo code SHOWER4SOUL. That's one word, SHOWER4SOUL. And please stop by Patreon to support the show. Patreon.com/ShowerForTheSoul. Thanks for joining me this week. Shows are up every Wednesday afternoon at noon Eastern Standard Time. If you have a friend you would like to save a seat for at the studio, let them know so they can join us then. If you're looking for anything that was mentioned on this episode, swing by the website for links and articles. The website is shanefame.com. On social, my handles for Instagram and Twitter is SFTSPodCST. That's at SFTSPodCST. If you have any show ideas or comments, please send me a love note at hostshane@gmail.com. That's hostshane@gmail.com. We're on Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, and Stitcher. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be chatting soon. Take care. Shower for the Soul is written and produced by Shane Fame Alexander.